Hi there, I'm Yudhika Sujanani and welcome to Sugar and Spice. I love cooking with spices and most of my travels take me to places where spices are used quite extensively. Today, it's going to be a Spanish dish with Spanish-style chicken with chorizo and also a red velvet cake, keeping in with that red Spanish theme. For the Spanish-style chicken, we're going to be using some chorizo, onions, garlic, and some smoked paprika. Here we go. So just going to dust these chicken pieces lightly in flour and shake off the excess. I'm going to pop them skin side down into a dry pan. I haven't seasoned these pieces of chicken as yet, and I'm going to be using some chicken stock as well as adding a touch of seasoning later, so I will adjust later on. Turning them over, and I'm going to add just a splash of cooking olive oil. You can use sunflower oil if you don't have olive, just to help it along a bit. Just going to pop these over, and they're gorgeous. They're really a beautiful brown. There's a fair bit of sizzling and hissing going on, but these look amazing, and that's exactly the color I want on these chicken thighs. Now I'm going to take them out and put them into a baking tray or a casserole dish, whichever you prefer really. Now I'm just going to add the cinnamon sticks, bay leaves, and some cumin seeds to this pan. Just a good sprinkling of cumin seeds, about a teaspoon I'd say. In goes the onion, and we're just going to stir that around. Right, now a little bit of seasoning going in, some salt. Like I said, we are going to use stock, so don't over-season your food. In goes the chorizo, and this is a smoked sausage, and it's available at most good butcheries. So I'm stirring this chorizo around. Just want it to brown slightly as well, and it releases more flavor. It's actually a smoked sausage as well, so you're getting lots of that smoky flavors coming through in your casserole. Now next in goes the garlic. Okay, just about 4 cloves of crushed garlic. No ginger in this one. And again, stir that through. I'm going to add now my favorite paprika, which is the Safinter. About 3 teaspoons of this going in. There's different varieties. I prefer the hot, but you could also buy the sweet smoked paprika as well. And those flavors are just amazing. Next, in a tin of tomatoes. I really, really hate washing up, so this works perfectly for me. Okay, now I'm going to spoon this chorizo sauce over the chicken pieces, and it's going to cook down further. Now I'm going to add some wine. Okay, so about a cup of wine going into this. Definitely wine you could drink. Don't use wine that's been left around for too long. A cup of wine, about a cup of stock as well. And next, some fresh thyme going in. And now I'm going to pop some olives in that sauce as well. They melt down really beautifully in this dish. Just going to press these olives down into the sauce as well, and we're going to bake this in the oven for about 45 to 50 minutes at 180 degrees Celsius. red velvet cake, I have always been intrigued by it since I saw a movie called Steel Magnolias. And there was this bright red wedding cake with white icing on it. And today I'm going to share my recipe with you. We're going to start out with 3 eggs into a mixing bowl, and we're going to whisk these. We're going to gradually add the sugar. That looks just about right. So next I'm going to add some flour. And we're just going to work this flour into the whisked eggs. Buttermilk going in. And the cocoa powder as well. Now, red velvet does have a bit of cocoa in it. It's not a chocolate cake, but the cocoa does give it a bit of flavor, and it also deepens the bright red color in the cake as well. So scrape the bottom of the bowl. You don't want uncooked bits in the cake. Now in goes the red velvet part of the cake, which is the red food coloring. A whole bottle goes into this cake. This is where you have to be very, very careful. It's quite difficult to get this red food coloring out of your clothes. So gentle stir, swirl that through. So I'm just going to swirl this around a bit more. And actually, I think I'm just going to get a whisk to help me with those extra lumps. There we go. And just use a wire whisk. Just whisk through, not too much. You don't want to get all that air out of the cake as well. Aha, that's done the trick perfectly. The mixture looks smoother already. Now for the interesting part, and this is where I always say to my kids, cooking's like a little bit of magic. I'm going to pour some vinegar into the mixture. And for the magic part, 2 teaspoons of bicarb going over that vinegar. And this is the raising agent in this cake. Again, use a spatula to just work that through. Now we're going to divide this between the 2 baking tins. They've been lined and greased already, and you can either just pour it in, or perhaps you can just count out the scoops to give you an even cake. Now I'm going to give these cakes a tap down to release any air bubbles that might be trapped in the cake. It also prevents your cake from having those large tunnels that move through. And these are going to bake at 170 degrees for about 20 to 25 minutes. Now this is almost ready. It's been in the oven for about 35 minutes, another 10 to go. And I'm going to pop these tinned lentils over. And these are cooked already, so they just need a few minutes to suck up all those lovely flavors. Just going to move this around a bit so we get the lentils to sink in to the casserole. Now this is going to go back into the oven for about 10 minutes. These red velvet cakes have been cooling and they've cooled down beautifully. Now we're going to make the frosting. So this is a typical cream cheese frosting, and some butter at room temperature, about 120 grams of butter going in. And we're just going to whisk this up. Now I've just got that butter going, and to this I'm going to add the icing sugar. And remember, add this in little batches so you don't get a huge cloud of icing sugar all over you. Well, you can see we have a bit of a cloud at the moment. Now the butter and sugar, quite light in color. I'm going to just stop for a second and then add the cream cheese. Just about a tub of cream cheese would do nicely for a double layer cake. So we're just going to loosen this cream cheese from the tub. It's really, really very thick. And in it goes. It's important as well not to overwork this. So just keep moving the beater around. This gives you a really, really thick icing, and we're going to add some cream as well going in here just to thin it out a bit so we can spread it quite easily. Just a tiny bit going in. It just makes the frosting part of making this cake so much easier. The frosting's now done, and we're just going to sandwich these cakes together now. Scoop some of the icing on top of the first layer and just use a little spatula to work that around. Not too much on the ends, because then the icing actually oozes out. Right, and now the second layer goes on top. Again, just hold it quite carefully. I'm not very good at piping, I don't really have the patience for it, so I'm more of an icing smearer than an icer. Again, that goes on top. And use a little, I prefer using a little spatula, I've got little hands, and just work that through over the cake. So just let it fall over the sides and add little extra bits as you go along. Now I'm just going to use the last frosting to almost fluff up the cake, just using a palette knife. Just do these little smears and lift up the palette knife as you go along, this little palette knife, and you just get some ripples almost, some movement in the icing, so it looks really pretty. I'm going to puff some of these gold or silver baubles on top if you have them. I like the crunch these add to the cake. And there we have it, a red velvet cake. Now I'm going to have a slice. I'm not really good at icing, but I can tell you what, I'm really good at tasting. So I'm going to tuck into some of this red velvet cake. I'm just chopping up some fresh coriander for the Spanish chicken. And it's been in the oven for 10 minutes after we've added the lentils. And in that goes, and boy does it smell fantastic. AMC is giving away this paella pot valued at 3,000 Rand. To win one of these fantastic giveaways, go to www.saffrontv.co.za. Spa is giving away 5 1,000 Rand shopping vouchers. To win one of these vouchers, go to www.saffrontv.co.za. Carry Me Home is giving away a fabulous KitchenAid blender valued at 3,000 Rand. For more details, log on to www.saffrontv.co.za.
Whirlpool is giving away this fantastic Jet Chef microwave oven. To win this exclusive giveaway, go to www.saffrontv.co.za.